Then came the time I told you about, those 3 or 4 years of awful rebellion when I dragged the dregs. My father thought that I was no good, and with good reason. Mother grieved over me, but it was Grandma who was the real eagle. She lived in our home. As I'd come in from a night of being out 3 or 4 in the morning, the light was on under her door, and I'd hear my name repeated quietly, and I knew what she was doing. She was on her knees. When God got a hold of my life and I went into the ministry, she came out to Vancouver just to be... And she used to sit right down about 4 rows in the front. I don't think she ever heard a sermon I preached. She'd just be. It was almost like she was saying, "We did it, Lord, didn't we?" I was a great preacher. I knew my homiletics, my hermeneutics. I knew how to put a sermon together. I knew how to introduce it, give the body, bring the conclusion. Now, Grandma prayed for me 4 hours a day, and it was nice of her, but I really didn't need it. One day I went to visit her. I used to love to visit her. I'd go 2 or 3 times a week, and she'd have little peas and slices of pineapple. She knew I liked that, so she always had it. One day I went to visit her, and she said, "I think I'm going home." I said, "I thought you were home." "No," she said, I'm going home to heaven." I said, "What?" She said, "I'm going home to heaven." Well, I said, "Grandma, you can't do that." She said, "I am." She said, "I've given notice for my room." You know, it was almost like she and the Lord had arranged it. And I think they had. She said, "I'm going to go back to Prairies, and I'm going to visit the children, and I'm going to go." So sure enough, she went back to the Prairie, wrote all her Christmas cards, got into bed, called the preacher in. He read her favorite psalm, and she was 2 verses ahead of him by memory, which is a bit embarrassing. And when she'd attended to everything, like a patriarch, she just pulled her feet into the bed and went home. An old eagle died looking at the sun. I went to the funeral, and I went back. I got up Sunday morning in my pulpit. I opened my Bible with my sermon notes, and I started to preach, and nothing came out. And so I cleared my throat and started again, nothing came out. And I said, "There's something wrong." And the Lord said, "You bet there's something wrong." I said, "Oh, God." "You mean?" He said, "That's what I mean." I remember in front of my congregation, I put my head on the pulpit and I began to weep. And I said, "I have been a wicked, stupid, blind boy." And I told him. I said, "She's gone, and this morning I'm as empty as a barrel." That 4 hours of prayer was sustaining me, and I was too proud to know it. Oh, I said, "My God, forgive me." I had one old colored sister in my church, Sister Bino. I'll never forget it. While I was yet weeping before my congregation in humiliation, she stood up, herself full of years. She said, "Pastor, I'll be your grandma." In those days, I was traveling with William Branham. I was across the world. I'd preach on a Sunday morning. I'd tell them I was catching a plane. She'd be outside my vestry door, and as I would come out with my briefcase, she'd take me to her ample bosom, and she'd pull my head up against those old black gray hairs of hers and nuzzle me against her cheek, and she'd say, "Now, son, you all remember wherever you going. I don't know where you going, but I know you going. And wherever you going, you remember back home here you got Grandma. I want you to know I got so many grandmas across the country you couldn't count them. I keep supplied with grandmas. I got grandmas in every town." I was in one place recently, and a little 15-year girl came up to me after I told this story, and she said, "Please, this may sound rather strange, but she said, it would be all right if I was your grandma." I said, "You're the youngest one I ever had, but I'll take you." My grandmother died as an eagle looking into the sun. Christian, we have not touched what God has for us tonight. The rarefied atmosphere up there is yours for the taking. you must be prepared to rise and soar into the sunlight rays using both your wings of prayer and praise. Mount like eagles, higher in the sky. You'll find things look so different when you fly. Let's sing it just once while we're seated. How many as a result of this week, how many as a result of this week are going back home inspired to be better than you've ever been before? You see, that is our compensation. I want you to, man, I look at you young people, and it's all I can do to come down, keep from grabbing you all up in my arms, throwing you in the air. Really. When I see the potential here, don't waste time. My Lord, you'll be old tomorrow. You know something? I was born yesterday. You say you were born yesterday? To me, it was yesterday. There are old gray heads down here. They feel the wrinkles in their face. They see their gray hairs in the mirror. They feel the burden of the years on their shoulders. And they say, what's happened? My heart is young. Only yesterday I was a bride at the altar, a mother cuddling my child. Already the time has come to go. And when you stand in time, in contrast to eternity, it boils down to this. I was born yesterday. I live today. I'm dead tomorrow. You haven't got time to waste. Let's sit and reflect on it now. Rise and soar into the sunlight.